What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. So today we're having another battle report for my Molebron DaoLockStone build, which I have been playing in a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance, and I'm having a hella fun time there, so highly recommended. The links for the Forged Concordance will be in the video description below. Feel free to join me there and we can adventure together. So today's session was called Cooking Up That Good Voodoo, If It Ain't From My Swamp. It was run by DM the 22, and I thought he did a great job. Once again, I'm very impressed with all of my DMs so far at the Forged Concordance. Really cool storyline, great descriptions, in command of the rules, rule of cool, all of that fun stuff. So it was a good time. And I had, in my last adventure, had a no combat farm day of just breaking horses and milking cows and stuff. So it was chill, but Bilbron is pretty much ready to get back to the serious business of killing things. So went to the job board looking for a gig, and wouldn't you know it, there's Volk looking to assemble a team. So I have adventured with Volk in 2 previous adventures, so we know each other pretty well. He remembered my name this time. Volk is a Kalash Tar Moon Druid / Bear Totem Barbarian. So yeah, pretty tough customer. And so he had a job for a guy named Bone Brother, where he looks like he needed some bodyguards. And so I was like, all right, we're the start of a pretty good team. Started looking around, and then I saw Clorg. And Clorg is the human barbarian battle master that I had my horror, terror, torture mission with. And so I knew that he and Volk would get along great. So I introduced them, and they did the whole barbarian man shake thing, which is pretty cool. And so we had 3, and we needed to add 2 more. So then Volk went up to Haloria, the Star Child, who was a centaur star druid cleric, and she was just chilling on a bench, apparently smoking some really good drugs from like these beads that she had, and she was an honest to goodness hippie chick, and didn't really seem to realize that the Forged Concordance is all about mercenary work. I don't know, but she did join the team. And then we needed 1 more, so we looked around trying to find another Iron Badge, and we finally found Rav, who was willing to join the team. And Rav was a very interesting character. He is a Loxodon Wildfire Druid. And so we had some cool roleplay at the beginning where I had never seen a Wildfire Spirit before, and it was just like really cool. And then nobody had ever actually talked to the Wildfire Druid or Spirit before, and Volk was like the first one. So yeah, we had like a little bonding moment, and it was cool. And so we all decided to head out to work for Bone Brother. Now it turns out there was 2 possible routes, and like the land route was like super circuitous and would have taken over a month and would have involved going through all of these different dangerous areas, or we could just take a ship. So we decided, let's take option B and take a ship and then just go right to this Mandela's Tomb forest / swamp where we needed to go. And so we headed out to Frazier's Landing. Now originally I thought Tears Fall because I'd been there a couple times and actually been on a ship from there, but it turns out Frazier's Landing was closer, so we decided to head there. And as it turns out, I remembered that I had a contact in Frazier's Landing because I'm an urban bounty hunter and I have a contact in every city. So I remembered that I had an old friend that had moved to Frazier's Landing, so we went to hook up with him. And the DM created an NPC on the spot that he really liked. And so he told me afterwards that he was going to keep that NPC as part of the storyline, which is always cool to be a part of a moment like that. And so, yeah, I met up with my friend, and, we shot the shit for a minute. And then I asked if he could help us out trying to find passage to this Mandela's tomb. And he's like, yeah, hook up with Captain Johnny of the Longbow, Captain Longbow Johnny. He's got some kind of deal with the Forged Concordance, and I think he'll even take you to where you want to go for free. And he's like, free? Awesome, because I've only got 5 gold to my name, and I wasn't going to be able to pay for anything extravagant. I've been buying a lot of scrolls and stuff lately. And he's like, yeah, so, go to it. But one thing about Captain Johnny, be careful. He's got this cat, man, and it's really weird. You don't want to fuck with the cat. And I was like, okay, no problem. But the problem was that everybody else heard. And I listened to my friend when we get Captain Johnny. I noticed he had a cat, and I was like, yeah, probably not a cat. I mean, I've got a familiar that's like an imp, but looks like a raven, half the time. So I get it. Show me my quarters. But everybody else was like, oh, the cat. Let me pet the cat. Let me try and talk to the cat. And at one point, Volk, who's a Kalashtar, telepathically reached out to the cat and was like, I know you're not a cat. Tell us what's going on. Fess up. And so this cat was like hugely offended and mad. And the captain's all like, what the fuck are you guys doing with my cat? And this cat was magical. Like I don't know the deal, but it wasn't a cat. And like next thing you know, like fishes are appearing under people's feet and we're falling down, and just all of this weird stuff like throughout the ship or throughout the voyage was happening to us because of this fact that we antagonized this cat. And Volk in particular was not too pleased with this cat and just kept coming back to it. And then anyway, we got on the ship, and it was a pretty colorful crew. There was like a Goliath, and then there was like this high society guy that kind of looked like a scholar and didn't belong there. So I thought, all right, cool. It might be nice to get some backstory on these guys and find out what's going on. They seem pretty cool. But the problem was when we came on board, Haloria noticed that one of the crew members was smoking like the Kind Chronic. And again, she was like really obsessed with like the drugs thing from the very beginning, and then Volk totally got on board. And honestly, at the beginning, I was like thinking that maybe people were going to forget the mission and then just start chasing the dragon the whole time. And then we got here and they noticed this guy was smoking the Chronic, and so Haloria and Volk were like, hey, don't bogart that thing, pass it on. And he did. And the next thing you know, these two are on their asses, like having hallucinations, and Haloria is having this existential experience where she's like meeting the one absolute that we were like all a part of, and Volk was doing, like, they babbled on and on and on about it for hours. Frankly, I tuned out at some point, but it was quite the experience. And for us watching all of this, they're just like flopping around on the deck, and the medic comes running up, and everyone's like, what the hell? Why did you give them that stuff? Oh my God, we got to do this again. And I was like, are they going to be okay? And the medic managed to, or was trying to, but then Haloria was like fighting it because she's all into this existential experience. So she's like bucking and kicking, and the medic's like, get the ropes. And finally the captain comes up. It's like, what the hell is going on here on my ship? He's like, everybody line up. And we all had to line up, and then confessions were made, and like people got in trouble, and then we got confined to our quarters for a few hours. That was the trip there. We eventually got there. It was fun roleplay. And we got to Mandela's tomb. We had to go to the middle of it to find the swamp where our client was, which was a simple matter. I sent Fargar way up into the sky, and he got eyes on the clearing that we were supposed to go, so we were able to walk down there pretty simply. And we met Bone Brother, and he was a really cool, chill dude, super chiseled, which I think made Volk feel a little insecure because he like instigated multiple bodybuilding contests and stuff from then on out. But a cool witch doctor dude. And the reason that he had hired us was because he wanted to make this like really intense, magical, mystical brew in this giant iron cauldron that he had over a bonfire. And he said that the problem with this ritual was that he couldn't stop stirring the pot for like an hour or like for 2 hours. And in the meantime, while he's doing that, it's an intensely magical process. So sometimes these interdimensional portals will open up and powerful monsters will pour out of them. Also, he lives in the swamp, and then there's other people that live in the swamp, and he's in the social network. So sometimes people come up and all of that, and he just doesn't have time to deal with it. So that's why he needed us for the 1 or 2 hours that he was doing this witch's brew ritual. He needed us to fight any monsters and to talk to and deal with anybody that might roll up, wanting him for something. And so that seemed like a pretty simple mission. And I in particularly love that sort of thing because defending a fixed position is really awesome for my playstyle of creating like a minor illusion and then hiding in that and then operating entirely through my invisible familiar. And so I was basically able to just do that, create a minor illusion. I set up a pretty good defensive position, and then I just went to work, right? Every 6 seconds, boom, 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 refresh. Which it might seem tedious, but hey, I'm ex-military. I definitely remember several times standing at parade rest for 8 hours not moving a muscle. So it's possible. And Bilbron is pretty serious about this because remember, he's basically coming off of an adventure where he lost half the team and it could have been a total party kill. And so actually the other guys were goofing around a little bit, and Bilbron was like, come on guys, we need to get serious here or some people aren't going to be walking away. And so everybody was game faced, and we were standing by ready to deal with any monsters pouring out of interdimensional portals. And Bone Brother started the ritual. And the first thing that happened, though, was not an interdimensional portal full of monsters or kaiju. It was a couple of orcs rolling up with their little pet lizards on a leash, saying, okay, we're here for the, big fighting lizard battles. Where's the pit? And we had to be all like, that's not going on here. And so the problem was with this is that I think I was the only charisma-based character with any kind of face capabilities. But I was in a little minor illusion of a barrel, and I wasn't out there to handle this stuff. And so all of these other guys handled it. And let's just say they're not the most diplomatic. Not only do they not have great charisma skills, but they're just not inclined to look for charisma-based solutions, shall we say. And so, it was pretty much like a couple of warnings and then murder hobo was the plan. And so, that's kind of what happened to these guys. They got a couple of warnings and then they got murder hoboed. And then a little while later, a bard rolls up with his girlfriend and a big bodyguard with an axe, looking to buy a potion, I think. But they weren't smart enough to respond to warnings to get the hell out of there, and overstayed their welcome. And so they got murder hoboed. And in fact, the bard particularly offended Volk, just his whole demeanor, his whole look, his whole music. So Volk really had it out for this guy. So there was definitely talk of torture and, go non-lethal on this guy so we can torture him later. And poor Hiloria, our precious little star child, who had never even killed anything, is slowly starting to realize that she's in a group with some stone cold evil bastards. poor Hiloria. And she had actually killed, I think, one of the lizards for the first, and it was her very first kill. And she was just so horrified and so upset with herself. And she dropped the club and really had this existential crisis in the middle of the mission. And honestly, I'm like, what did you think the TFC was known for? Our embroidering? No, we're mercenaries. But she toughed it out. But boy, at some point she was like, I'm not casting Bless on any of you bastards. Oh, it was funny. Great role play out of Hiloria. It was fun. But anyway, we killed the orcs and the lizards, and we killed the bard and his girlfriend. The girlfriend got ate right away to spiritually torture the bard before physically torturing him. And then we had a problem. The interdimensional portals opened up, and out come a couple of beholders. Now, everybody else is screaming, beholders, beholders! I'm like, oh, what's a beholder? Wow, these look cool. They're really big, and they got an eye, and they're floating. Wow. Because I'm a city kid. I've never fought a beholder before. But it turns out they weren't really beholders, because we are only third level. They were some kind of plant thing, and they were like balloons filled with spores, and so they popped with almost no damage, and they poisoned me. They poisoned a bunch of us, because when they popped, they had this huge area of effect, and they managed to get to my position, and 3 of us failed our saves, including Bone Brother, and that meant we had 10 hours to live. Oh my god, yeah, that put a serious gloss on things. And so a couple of our party members were immediately healed through Lesser Restoration, cast by Hiloria, I think. And then Bone Brother and I were the only ones. And so he said, okay, we're good. I can create an antidote. And I'm like, good. And so he was creating the antidote, because the ritual that he wanted us for had been ruined by this point. Luckily, the world wasn't destroyed, though, because that was on the table if the ritual went awry. But it wasn't that. It just, it went bad. But he, wanted to make this antidote for himself and for me. And in the meantime, we did get attacked again, this time by a giant insectoid creature that crawled up from under the ground. And then a couple of fae-like things that may have been sprites, I'm not sure, but they definitely had a sprite like poison, because Volk actually went unconscious on a bad Constitution saving roll, and he wasn't too happy about that. But we were able to clean up that battle, and then it was a matter of getting the cure. And so he's got this giant cauldron of this bubbling, gross, ichor stuff in it. And I'm like, okay, so what do? I take a teaspoon of this? He's like, no, you got to dunk your whole head in it. I'm like, what? Oh, that sounds gross. I don't want to. But he's like, you got to. Like, okay. And so I kind of put my head in down a little bit, and then he freaking grabs me by the neck and just shoves my head underneath. And I'm like, my arms are flailing. And then he holds me under for a freaking minute. And a minute's a long time when you're underwater. And so, I might have panicked just a little bit, but he finally let me up. And I was sputtering and all of that. But I did feel a lot better, because that disease or whatever had, me feeling pretty bad. I was poisoned. And so we got healed. And then Bone Brother was like, all right, look, that's enough. I mean, I can't do this ritual that I wanted. The first one got ruined, and now I have to go get more stuff. And so you guys still did a good job, and we got paid 150 gold pieces each. I might come back and try again. I really like Bone Brother, and I want him to complete the ritual. But yeah, that was it. We went back to the shore, caught up with Captain Johnny. He took us back to Frazier's Landing. We went back from Frazier's Landing to the guild house, and we collected our badges for a successful mission. So that made my character 4th level. Very exciting stuff. And I'll start the next battle report with a review of what my character can do now, and why I've chosen to go in that direction. In any case, thank you so much for watching. This has been Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. See you next time.